Rain hammered the alley like a drumline as Detective Elaine Carter ran, breath flaring white in the cold and the city closing in around her. Sirens sketched red and blue scars across the wet brick, and the pavement smelled like oil and damp fear. She clutched a single photograph in a plastic sleeve, the image that could break a city. If she lost it, the last thread to the truth would go spinning into the gutter. If they caught her, she would be another chalk outline washed thin by the rain. A photo can change everything, but the truth has a price few are willing to pay. A shadow cut across the alley mouth. Voices barked behind her. A door to her right stood on a rusty hinge. She slipped inside, boots sliding over tile, breath tightening as she pressed against a soda machine buzzing like a trapped insect. The building smelled like old cigarettes and broth. A kitchen window opened to a narrow courtyard. She eased it up and heard a small whimper, a dog trembling by a tipped trash can, wire-thin and soaked. She reached into her pocket, tore the corner off a protein bar, and dropped it gently. The dog swallowed it whole. Then she slid through the window and back into the night. She moved like she had years ago when speed was effortless and doubt was a stranger. 54 now, with scars that carried names, she still had the engine. 2 blocks ahead, the alley opened to a street with an out-of-business pawn shop and a neon martini glass buzzing over a bar that had been old even in the 70s. She kept to the cars, low and fast. As she ran, the memory of the order replayed in razor detail. Chief Robert Mason had stood at his office window, a gray block in a gray suit. He did not turn when she said his name. "Stop the investigation," Chief Mason said. His voice was a flat line, no spike, no warmth. "This is not your fight." "It became my fight the moment a witness died in a holding cell," Elaine said. She pulled the photo from a manila folder and laid it on his desk, the colors bright, defiant against the dark oak. "Look at it." He looked then. His eyes barely flickered. The photo showed a private room, a wood-paneled banquette, and hands exchanging an envelope. The faces were clear. A city councilman, a known organized crime fixer, and in the mirror behind them, the reflection of a younger Robert Mason, watching. "End it," Chief Mason said. "That is an order." He had not blinked, he had not swallowed, but the muscle in his jaw had ticked once. A small betrayal. Now in the rain, that small betrayal kept her moving. She left the cars and crossed toward the bar, ducking under the cracked neon that buzzed like a hornet. Inside, dim light slid over cracked leather booths and a bartender with sleeves rolled high. The world smelled like wet coats and dust. She stood at the end of the bar, brought her phone up, and snapped 2 shots of the photo. She sent both to Marcus Doyle, her quiet lifeline. "Alive," Elaine typed. "On the move. Tag the metadata." Her phone buzzed immediately. "I see the pings," Marcus said when she answered. His voice was steady, low, the sound of a man who solved problems at 3 a.m. 2 signals tailing you, not uniform, not our people, unless our people forgot to register their toys. "Send me a door," Elaine said. "Out the back, right, then left into a service alley," Marcus said. "There was a hair salon closed for weather. Metal gate lifted. Move." She paid for nothing, nodded to the bartender. "Borrowed your air," Elaine said. "The rain is free," the bartender said. She went. The back door led to a yard stacked with empty kegs and the smell of bleach. She hit the alley, turned right, and then left into a stretch of darkness broken by a single street lamp. An industrial fan turned slow, throwing droplets like a sprinkler. A shape moved in the dark. The first man came fast and wrong, a rush without balance. She dropped her shoulder, let him pass, and punched him in the neck. He staggered into the brick and slid down, grabbing his throat. The second man had more patience, more training. He held his distance and kept his hands low. She saw the outline of a pistol by the bulge in his jacket. She stepped behind the fan, and when he swept right, she closed left, grabbed fabric, and slammed his wrist to the steel frame. He hissed and dropped the gun. The third was late, breath loud, boots skidding. She dropped the photo sleeve inside her jacket, locked her elbow, and broke his rhythm with a knee to the thigh. He folded. She ran through them and did not look back. Lightning scratched the clouds. She cut down 3 more blocks, the city older and darker here, graffiti layered like family stories. She ducked into an arcade closure, rolled under a half-closed gate, and came up in a dead atrium where poster frames were empty and a banner drooped, dust clinging to the letters of a campaign from a mayor long gone. Her phone chimed. An unnamed number surfaced with a single message: "Deliver the photo to Pier 17. Come alone." She stared at the words and listened to the rain beat the roof. Then another line appeared: "Or the next body will be yours." She looked up and saw a silhouette at the far end of the atrium, a figure standing motionless in the darkness, framed by the green exit sign, "Glow." The shape did not move, did not speak. It just waited, as if the city itself had decided to look back at her. The safe house was a box above a closed bodega, its wallpaper faded to the color of old nickels. It was anonymous enough to be boring, and that was the point. Elaine sat at a small table with the photograph between her and a bowl of lukewarm noodles. Marcus Doyle occupied the chair opposite, a slim man with calm eyes and a patience that read as courage. He had a laptop open but not on, like a gun you had out of the holster but pointed at nothing. Outside, the rain softened to a steady murmur. "Whoever sent that text knows my roots," Elaine said. She traced a finger along the edge of the photo. "Knows my habits." "They also know your phone," Marcus said. He slid a loop across the table, then changed his mind and pushed it aside. "Forget the gear. Tell me what your eye says." Elaine looked. The photo was in color, crisp, almost too sharp, like a memory that never fades because it never happened. A private club with wood-paneled walls and a row of trophies that felt wrong in their polish. A councilman with a cigar. A fixer with a watch that could buy a house. The envelope mid-transfer, fingers tight. In the corner, the reflection in a beveled mirror. Younger Mason, watching. "It is bait," Elaine said. "It answers too many questions at once." Marcus nodded. "Look at the top right," Marcus said. "Just above the mirror. Turn it so the light grazes across the surface." She tilted. The paper caught the light and hit a ghostly watermark that wasn't ink so much as a bruise under the image. A pattern formed, faint and symmetrical, like the seal of a private club or a badge. A ship's wheel wrapped in laurel. "Almost invisible," Elaine said. "You had to want me to find it." "Deliberate tampering," Marcus said. "Someone wanted this to look real and fake at the same time. The watermark is not a maker's mark. It is a thumbprint." Elaine remembered the office again, the rain drumming the glass as if trying to get in. She remembered sliding the photo across Mason's desk. She remembered the single muscle ticking in his jaw. "Mason is in this photo," Elaine said. "If it is real, he is compromised. If it is fake, someone wants me to end him." "Either way, they put your hand on the trigger," Marcus said. Elaine stood and walked to the window. The street was empty except for a bus rolling past on whispering tires. She thought of the witness who had died in a cell. She remembered the way the body looked, wrong in all the small ways that tell a story. She remembered the old detectives who taught her to check the shoes because the shoes never lie. "There were 20 names in my notes," Elaine said. "I did not share those notes with anyone. Yet after I confronted Mason, 3 of those 20 went quiet." "Silenced," Marcus said. "Maybe," Elaine said. "Maybe warned." Marcus leaned forward. "Let us attack the chain. Where did this photo come from?" "An unmarked envelope in my mailbox at the precinct," Elaine said. "No return. Inside this. No note." Marcus made a sound that could have been a laugh if it had warmth. "Classic," Marcus said. "Old school, like vinyl and baseball stats in the newspaper." "Stop romanticizing threats," Elaine said. "The city does not care what form a lie takes." "It cares who tells it," Marcus said. Elaine put the photo back in its sleeve, then set it under the radio on the table. She felt a fatigue that was not physical. She thought about the phone text, the pier, the threat. She thought about walking into that trap alone, and she thought about every time walking into a trap had turned out differently than expected. The floor creaked in the hallway. Both of them froze. Marcus raised a hand and pointed to the door, then to his ear. Elaine heard it too, a whisper of movement. She stayed where she was and drew her service weapon, the weight familiar and dull. "It is the building, shifting," Marcus said quietly. "Old wood." Elaine nodded but did not relax. When the knock came, it was soft, courteous. 4 small taps as if it were polite to interrupt people who were deciding the fate of the city. "Expecting anyone?" Marcus asked. "Never," Elaine said. She moved to the door and stood to the side. "Who are you?" Elaine said. "Delivery," a voice said. The tone was flat, without accent, like a mask. "From who?" Elaine said. "From the truth," the voice said. Marcus frowned. Elaine cracked the door 2 inches. On the mat lay a sealed envelope, thick and cream-colored, wax shut in red. No return name, just weight. She looked out into the hall. It was empty. She picked up the envelope and closed the door. She broke the seal. Inside was 1 page with 4 words printed in block letters. "The truth is deeper than you know." She turned the envelope and saw no other mark, no scent of cologne, no grime. It was as clean as a lie told by a saint. "How did they find this place?" Elaine said. "We are not invisible to people who built the map," Marcus said. Elaine set the message next to the photo and felt the ground tilt under all of it. Somewhere, someone had a key to her life. Somewhere, someone was testing how far she would go. The next morning wore a gray suit of cloud. Elaine moved through the city in a sedan that looked like every other car that had seen too much winter. She stopped at a corner diner where the waitresses called cops by their last names, and the coffee was strong enough to count as evidence. Marcus slid into the booth opposite, eyes scanning the room the way a pro poker player scans a table. "We have to drill down into the past," Elaine said. "Old cases, old partners." "You are thinking of the Ruiz files," Marcus said. She nodded. Manny Ruiz had been a detective in the 70s and 80s, the era of long collars and longer tabs at the bar. He had retired to a stool on the west side where the jukebox still took quarters. He had also signed off on a case that disappeared into a cabinet that did not exist on paper. They found Manny at his bar, a dim joint with a baseball game running silent on a small TV, and a smell of fried food that had lived in the walls so long it had paid rent. Manny looked like a tree stump given a badge and left in the weather. "Elaine Carter," Manny said. "I always figured you would outlast us all." "You figured wrong," Elaine said. "I'm not counting bodies. I'm counting debts." She slid a photocopy of the photo onto the bar. Manny did not touch it. He leaned in and looked at it the way a man looks at a photo of himself when he was young and stupid. "You saw this room," Elaine said. "Everyone saw pieces of that room," Manny said. "No one saw the bill." "Who paid?" Elaine asked. "Whoever could afford to buy silence," Manny said. "We were told it was a sting, an intelligence op. We were told to keep our hands off and our eyes somewhere else." "Who told you?" Elaine asked. "A captain who never missed a pension payment," Manny said. "Then a deputy chief who now has a beach house in a state we never investigated." "Mason?" Elaine asked. Manny's eyes flicked once. "That was before his face was lit by neon," Manny said. "Back when he still believed that a badge could change the world if you shined it enough." Elaine left Manny with a 10 on the bar, which was both too much and not enough. Outside, the clouds hung lower. She and Marcus walked without talking for 3 blocks. Then her phone chimed. The number was blocked. "You should stop," a voice said when she answered. "It is not cowardice to want to live." "Who is this?" Elaine said. "Someone you used to trust," the voice said. "Look left." She looked left and saw a man standing by a newspaper kiosk that no one used anymore. He had a raincoat and a hat and a face she had not seen in years. Frank Rivas had been her partner 20 years ago. He had left the department after a suspension that was never quite explained. "You disappeared," Elaine said. "I changed jobs," Frank said. "To what?" Elaine asked. "To surviving," Frank said. He looked at the photo and then looked at her. "You were not meant to hold that," Frank said. "That picture is a hook, and you are the fish." "Who is at the other end of the line?" Elaine asked. "People who have been sitting in rooms like that for 40 years, Frank said. "People who watched the 70s teach the city to smile while it took your wallet." "Mason?" Elaine asked. "Mason thinks he is playing chess," Frank said. He forgot he is a piece like the rest of us. Why talk now? Elaine asked. Because I owe you, Frank said. You took the heat for a bad warrant I signed. You could have told me then, Elaine said. I did not have the map then, Frank said. He handed her a small card with a coded string printed on it. That gets you into a file frankly I should burn, Frank said. Names, donations, contracts. Make sure you are surrounded when you open it. Elaine watched him walk away, just another man getting smaller in the rain. She and Marcus returned to the safe house, and Marcus loaded the string into his machine, fingers moving with the grace of habit. This is odd, Marcus said. There are gaps. It is like someone took bites out of the data and chewed slow. Can you reconstruct? Elaine asked. Maybe, Marcus said, but I have to tell you something. There are logs showing my credentials logging into a precinct server last night. I did not do that. What did you access? Elaine asked. Your case notes, Marcus said. Elaine stared at him. Are you playing both sides? Elaine asked. I would never betray you, Marcus said. His voice was precise, not dramatic, but someone has my keys. She wanted to believe him. She also wanted to throw her phone into the river and watch it sink like a secret that had finally found a home. She called Mason. He picked up on the second ring. You were told to stop, Chief Mason said. No, Elaine said. I was told to choose, and I am choosing the truth. You are going to get killed, Chief Mason said. Maybe, Elaine said, but not before I find out why you were in that mirror. There was a long silence. You do not understand what you are cutting open, Chief Mason said. There are infections that keep a body alive. You talk like a doctor who forgot who the patient is, Elaine said. She hung up and the room felt like it had lost 5 degrees. The hallway creaked again. The same polite knock came. 4 small taps, the rhythm of a metronome. She raised her gun and looked at Marcus. He nodded. She opened the door. No one stood there. Just a small cell phone on the floor, cheap, disposable, white as bone. She picked it up. It rang in her hand. She answered. A voice she could not place spoke a single sentence. I know about your betrayal, the voice said. The line went dead. Her hand did not shake, but the air felt thinner, like the building had climbed a mountain and was waiting to see if they would make it to the top. The parking lot used to serve a factory that no longer existed, just a slab of cracked asphalt and weeds. The sky had peeled itself open and poured down, and the lot became a shallow lake that reflected the city's hungers. Elaine stood in the rain in a jacket that had known better days, the photograph sealed inside a pocket wrapped in plastic and will. Marcus was a shadow by a burned-out light pole, eyes never resting on the same place for long. Cars slid in from separate streets, their engines subdued, windows tight. Doors opened. Men with slickers and guns stepped out, forgot to look like anything else. Elaine's breath held steady. She had invited them. She had sent a message through the channels people who do not put things on paper use. She had baited the hook they had put in the water and pulled it toward shore. Chief Mason arrived last, his sedan idling, his driver a flat line of attention. Mason stepped into the rain without an umbrella. It hit his face and left nothing behind. He walked to Elaine with his hands open and empty. You came, Elaine said. I told you to stop, Chief Mason said. You told me to obey, Elaine said. Different orders. He did not smile. He looked older in the rain, as if light had finally given up flattering him. The photograph, Chief Mason said. It is engineered. To do what? Elaine asked. To pull out the worms, Chief Mason said. She waited. He shrugged as if he were taking off a coat you could not see. You think I did not see the mirror that night, Chief Mason said. I did. I saw myself. I was there because we were inside something that could not be named. We pushed money in and waited to see which mouths opened. Covert operation, Elaine said. Is that what you told yourself the first time or only after it worked? It did not work, Chief Mason said. It never ends. It splits. It multiplies. It feeds on the story you think you are writing. That photograph was a toll booth. The people who paid stopped for a second. We wrote down the plates. The first shots came from the far side of the lot, 3 pops that might have been fireworks if the world were different. Marcus shoved Elaine behind a car that had not moved in a decade. Glass shattered in the rain. Men shouted words that meant down and cover and move. Elaine looked at Mason. He had a gun in his hand. She did not see him pull it. He fired 3 times with the confidence of a man who had trained for things he never admitted to. Marcus fired back, not with bravado, but with arithmetic. 2 silhouettes withdrew into the smoke from a burning engine. The rain turned the smoke into a gray skin. When the shooting paused, the world snapped into a high, painful silence. Elaine stepped out and kept her gun low, her eyes high. She shouted. "Enough," Elaine said. "You wanted me. Here I am." "You are in a game you do not understand," Chief Mason said, "and I am the piece that belongs to both sides." "You cannot belong to both sides," Elaine said. "You can only pretend long enough to forget which one you are on." The rain shortened to a needle spray. From the smoke, a new figure emerged. Not one of the men from the cars. A woman in a raincoat, her hair pulled back so tight it hurt to look at, her eyes bright in the gloom. She carried a black binder tucked under one arm the way you carry something that can cut you. "Elaine Carter," the woman said. "I am Nia Calder. I am the reporter you did not return calls to." "You picked a hell of a time to chase quotes," Elaine said. Nia opened the binder and pulled out a stack of papers sealed in plastic. She held them out to Elaine. The top sheet showed transaction codes and account numbers marching like soldiers. Names, dates, a shell company that had been used to buy land on the edges of a precinct's jurisdiction. Money moving in currents that looked invisible until they were not. "These are accounts tied to the Foundation Mason chairs," Nia said. "Money out matched to contracts in. The signatures are neat. The math is prettier." Chief Mason did not reach for the papers. He did not step back either. "You are making a mistake," Chief Mason said to Nia. "You think this is about me?" "It is partly about you," Nia said. "It is partly about the deputy mayor who lunches on the second Thursday of every month. It is partly about a union boss who learned that the loudest voice can be disguised as a chorus." Elaine flipped to the next page. Offshore transfers. Retainer payments to a consulting firm that did not exist until 6 months after that mirror caught his face. "What is in the photo is one thing," Nia said. "This is what the mirror missed." The shooting started again. Brief. Closer. The sound of someone trying to erase a mistake. Marcus moved, grabbed Nia by the arm and pulled her behind a delivery truck. A bullet punched a hole in the binder. Papers fluttered like broken birds and fell in puddles. Elaine dove and caught 3 sheets, tucking them under her jacket. Chief Mason walked into the line of fire and put 2 men down. He moved like a man who would rather be shot than misunderstood. The others fled. The rain swallowed them. Breath returned to the lot in uneven chunks. Tires squealed and then did not. The parking lot became a room again. Elaine stood, her clothes clung. She faced Mason. "You wanted me out," Elaine said. "You said you were protecting me." "I did not want you to become what I became," Chief Mason said. "You stare into that room long enough and you forget there are windows." "Then explain these," Elaine said. She lifted the wet papers with the accounts, the signatures, the transfers. Mason's face did something she had never seen. It softened. Then it hardened, like wet cement hitting hot sun. "We made deals to keep the bigger monsters caged," Chief Mason said. "We took their money and directed their hunger. I planned to tear the whole thing open when I had the map." "You're late," Elaine said. Nia stepped closer and pointed at a column of numbers. "These are not the fingerprints of a reluctant man," Nia said. "These are the habits of someone who learned to like the feeling." The rain tightened again. In the distance, a siren wailed and then cut off, like a breath held by someone who had realized the house was on fire. Elaine looked at Marcus. He shook his head. It meant no cavalry. It meant they were between a story and a promise. Out of the thinning smoke, a man the size of a bad idea stepped forward, holding not a gun but a plastic envelope. He had the easy walk of someone who did not think anyone would stop him. "You forgot something," the man said. He held up the envelope. Inside was another photograph. Similar room, different angle. This time there was no mirror. This time the face of Robert Mason was front and center, Hand on an envelope, smile thin and exact. The date stamp at the bottom glowed in red. The watermark, faint, burned into the image like a secret brand. It was not the seal Elaine had seen before. It was the city crest, reversed. He tossed the envelope at their feet. He faded back into the rain like he had never been there, leaving a picture that made the world smaller and meaner. The storm moved sideways across the river and pinned the city to the water. Elaine stood on the deck of a warehouse near Pier 17, the boards slick and black. The warehouse was a cathedral of rust and echo where the city stored the things it did not want to remember. She had staged this, and she felt the cost already. She had given copies of the binder pages to a federal contact who would either use them or bury them. She had sent the photograph to 3 reporters and 1 priest. She had split the story 5 ways, so that even if one piece died, the others would live. Marcus worked a radio set that had started its life in a squad car. He had bent it. He had tuned the frequency to bleed into the feeds of traffic cameras and bus depot monitors. Tonight, the city would watch whether it wanted to or not. "You could have run," Marcus said. "It is not in my feet," Elaine said. She thought of sacrifices. She thought of colleagues who had stopped answering her calls. She thought of a niece whose graduation she had missed because a dead man had asked her a question he could not answer. She thought of every badge lined up at funerals. She tightened the strap around her gun hand. The leather squeaked. Headlights carved light through the rain. A caravan of city cars pulled into the yard, then turned their lights off. Men and women climbed down and adjusted their coats. The deputy mayor, the union boss, 2 captains, 3 lieutenants, a lawyer who smelled like clean money, and Chief Robert Mason, last again, unhurried again. Elaine stepped into the open. The river behind her was a dark wall. The traffic camera she had hijacked stared without blinking. Somewhere, an audience leaned in. "Let us end this," Elaine said. "You do not know what ending means," the deputy mayor said. "It means showing them," Elaine said. She tilted her chin toward the camera lens, a tiny eye set under the eave. Marcus flipped a switch on his radio. The image from a body camera went live. He had rigged it to a phone and strapped it under Elaine's jacket. The feed bled into municipal screens with a latency of a second or less. On buses, in stations, in a precinct break room, on a diner TV that only played the news when it needed to. Faces turned toward the rain and the dark. "You think you can shame us," the union boss said. "I think I can count," Elaine said. She raised the binder pages, laminated now, the ink still wet, but the numbers clear. Offshore money returning as contracts. Foundation funds redirected to straw entities. Homicides classified as overdoses. Promotions handed to men who said yes, and women who kept notebooks that got stolen. Chief Mason moved to stand in front of her. He blocked the others as if his body could stop a flood. "Stop," Chief Mason said, his voice carried like a bell. "Elaine, listen. You are giving them the spectacle they need to survive. They will call this a witch hunt, and they will tell the city you hate the badge." "I love the badge," Elaine said. "Enough to bleed for it." "Then hear me," Chief Mason said. He stepped closer, the rain flattening his hair. His eyes looked like someone had turned a light off inside them. "I stayed in the room so I could blow it up. I charted flows, I memorized faces. I gave people rope. I did not pull until there was no slack left. If you force this now, the rope cuts the wrong necks." "You had years," Elaine said. "Time ran out, Macy." The deputy mayor took a step forward. "Arrest her," he said to Mason. Mason did not move. "You work for me," the deputy mayor said. "I work for the badge," Chief Mason said. Men drew guns, women drew phones. The air tightened to a point. Marcus stood 5 feet away, his hands empty, eyes calculating. Elaine wondered if he had told Mason where she was. She had her answer when Marcus spoke. "We only get one shot at this," Marcus said. "Make them put their hands on their story." Elaine nodded. "You all sign into rooms like this under your middle names," Elaine said to the deputy mayor. "You think that makes you invisible. It just makes you small." The deputy mayor smiled like a test pattern. "You are boring me," he said. A crack split the air. A shot drilled into a post beside Elaine's head, wood spitting into the rain. The union boss had fired, face pale. Chaos surged. In the instant people forgot they were being watched, their instincts took over and confessed. Chief Mason moved, a blur with a weapon, and put his shoulder into the union boss, sending the shot into the roof. Elaine pivoted and aimed at the deputy mayor's knee. She had no interest in martyring him. She wanted him talking. She squeezed. He fell with a cry, his hand still clutching his phone, the camera catching his face as he swore he was innocent. Marcus hit the second switch. The feed cut to a clear slate with names, figures, snapshots, and then back to the scene. It was amateur theater with a professional audience. The city was watching. The city was always watching. It just needed a place to put its eyes. Nia Calder stepped out from the side door, soaked and unafraid, her notebook in a plastic bag, her recorder clipped to her coat. "You are live to half the city," Nia said. "Say hello, Chief." "Hello," Chief Mason said. He did not look at the camera. He looked at Elaine. "You win." "This is not about winning," Elaine said. "This is about cleaning." He nodded. Then a shot sang through the space. It hit Mason in the shoulder, spinning him. He went down to one knee, breath punched out. "Sniper," Marcus said. He pointed to the far catwalk. Elaine raised her gun but could not get the angle. Mason rolled, blood soaking his sleeve, and fired twice at the catwalk. A figure staggered, lost his footing, and vanished into the darkness below with a splash that sounded final. "You saved me," Elaine said. "I killed him to keep him from killing you," Chief Mason said. "That is not the same thing." Sirens now, real, closing in. The federal contact had not buried her after all. Black SUVs slid into the yard with lights discreet and badges more official than fear. Agents took positions and shouted into the rain. The deputy mayor yelled about immunity. The union boss yelled about rights. The captains looked at their shoes. Elaine turned to Mason and cuffed him. The camera saw the image the city would remember. It was not gloating. It was grief. "You're under arrest," Elaine said, "for conspiracy, for obstruction, for forgetting what the badge means." "I never forgot," Chief Mason said. "I just chose the wrong war." Marcus approached slowly. "You okay?" Marcus asked. "I do not know if that is a question we get to answer tonight," Elaine said. Nia stood to the side, recording, eyes damp and alert. "You will make enemies for this," Nia said. "I already had them," Elaine said. The agents moved the deputy mayor, the union boss, the captains. Mason stood without help, even with blood dirtying his jacket. He looked at Elaine one last time with a gaze that asked her to hear the words he did not say. By morning, the department would have an interim chief. Internal Affairs would unpack files no one had touched in 20 years. The city would argue with itself, loud and necessary. The press would run headlines with words like reckoning and cleansing and rot. The truth would be a little cleaner and also cut a little deeper. Elaine sat on a crate and watched the river. Marcus sat beside her. He said nothing for a while. Then he spoke. "I accessed your notes," Marcus said, "days ago. I did it to build a map you could not be forced to surrender. I told Mason enough to keep you alive. I never gave him the map." "I believed you," Elaine said. "Did you?" Marcus asked. "I wanted to," Elaine said. "That counts." They sat in the rain as the city rinsed itself. The weight did not lift. It adjusted. Her phone vibrated in her pocket. A new message from a number that would not matter no matter how hard she chased it. 4 words again, different shape, same hand. This is not over yet. Elaine looked at the river and felt the city take a breath it had been denied for years. She stood and squared her shoulders to the morning that would come. "We will be ready," Elaine said. Marcus stood too. "You say that like a promise," Marcus said. "It is," Elaine said. And somewhere behind them, as agents wrote reports and lawyers rehearsed defenses, the diner coffee brewed, the buses ran, and the old bars opened their doors. The city moved, bruised and stubborn, toward something like a better version of itself, one hard decision at a time.